Manda. We hope that you'll be with us following the deliberations as we bring them to you live. So a quick look at some business that took place on the floor of the House on Friday, 6th March 2026. So on Friday, 6th March 2026, when business did commence, there were some announcements that were made by Madam Speaker. And in the first announcement, she did inform, First Deputy Speaker actually did inform the House that she had received information to the effect that in the absence of Her Honor, the Vice President, who was attending to other government business, the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Honorable Jack J. Mwimbu MP, had been appointed acting leader of government business in the House from Friday, 6th March 2026 until further notice.
Yes, and in another announcement, the Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker recognized the presence in the public gallery of a group of women aspiring candidates in the forthcoming general elections set for August 2026. Madam First Deputy Speaker did state that the women had been attending a high-level women meeting in leadership conference at Mulungushi International Conference Center, Lusaka, from 4th to 5th March 2026. And Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly, she welcomed the visitors to the institution. Madam Speaker also recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from the following schools. One was the Chikumbuso Community School in Lusaka District, and the second one was Kabwata Trust School in Lusaka District. She equally welcomed the visitors to the institution.
Then after that, there was yet another announcement. This time around, Madam First Deputy Speaker reminded the House that as announced on Friday, 27th February 2026, the House would not sit the following week, which was from 10th to 13th March 2026, in order to enable honourable members of Parliament travel to their constituencies and take part in the commemorations of the International Women's Day on 8th March and Youth Day on 12th March 2026. In her announcements, the First Deputy Speaker did observe that the two events were very important national events in the Zambian calendar, and she further encouraged honourable members to use that period to engage with their constituents. Madam First Deputy Speaker lastly stated that the House would resume its sittings on Tuesday, 17th March 2026.
And after those announcements, the House went on to consider three urgent matters without notice that were raised by three members of Parliament. The first one came from Nakonde Member of Parliament, Mr. Lucas Mumba, and the subject matter was on the alleged breakdown of the Zambia Revenue Authority core systems, namely Ascuda World Tax Online and the Smart Invoice for 1 week, which may have led to loss of revenue. This was inadmissible. The second one came from Mpika Member of Parliament, Mr. Francis Kapyanga, and the subject matter was on the Tanzania-Zambia Railways Authority workers who had not been paid their salaries for the past 3 months, and this was equally ruled inadmissible. And the last one was raised by Mr. Menyani Zulu, Nyimba Member of Parliament, and the subject matter was on the stretch of the greatest road around the Renamo Hills in Nyimba district that needed to be rehabilitated. This was also ruled inadmissible.
Thereafter, two ministerial statements were delivered on the floor of the House, and the first one was a statement that was delivered by the acting leader of government business in the House. He did make a statement on the ongoing voters registration verification exercise being carried out by the Electoral Commission of Zambia ahead of the 2026 general elections.
And the second ministerial statement was rendered by the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development on the washed-away culvert along the Chingola-Chirilabumbwe to Kasumbalesa Public-Private Partnership PPP Road. And the Minister briefed the House on what had caused the damage on the bridge and the emergency measures that had been taken. The Minister further stated that similar infrastructure vulnerabilities were being addressed by implementing short and long-term measures to strengthen the road infrastructure.
And then after that, before considering the two bills that we had on the order paper on Friday, Friday before the House did adjourn, the House then considered the only questions for oral answer understanding order number 82, which appeared on the order paper, and that was question 248. Then the House then moved on to consider bills. Pauline.
Yes, Muta, the House also considered the Banking and Financial Services Bill, National Assembly Bill number 36 of 2025. This was considered at committee stage and reported without any amendments. The third reading will be taken in due course.
Thereafter, the House then considered the Zambia Deposit Insurance Corporation Bill, National Assembly, Bill number 38 of 2025. It was read a third time and the bill has since been passed.
And after that, there was resumption of debate on the adjourned motion of thanks. The President's address that the thanks of this Assembly be placed and recorded for public exposition of public policy contained in the President's address to the House on 20th of February 2026. And you may recall that this motion was moved by Chikankata, Member of Parliament. So the motion is still being debated by the House. And there being no further debate, the motion stood adjourned and the House did adjourn accordingly at 12:15 hours. So that was basically debate, the business of the House. On the last day, the House sat, which was on Friday, 6 March 2026. So just right now, we shift our attention and look at business that is expected for discussion on the floor of the House today, 17th March 2026. Muta.
Okay, thank you, Pauline. So today, as every Tuesday when the House is sitting, we do expect business to commence at 14:30 hours, and we do expect to have announcements if there will be any, urgent matters without notice if there will be any. Thereafter, we do expect some questions to be considered, understanding order number 82, and these questions are of an urgent nature. So actually, there's only one question of that nature, and this is question 249, a question that will be posed by Kampinsa Member of Parliament, Mr. Christopher Kangombe, and this question will be directed at the Minister of Education. In his question, which he poses in about 3 parts, he wants to know whether the government is aware that teachers who were recruited under the 2025 replacement category are experiencing financial hardships due to the prolonged delay in being placed on government payroll. In the second part of his question, he wants to know what the cause of the delay in placing the teachers on the payroll is. And the last part of the question, he wants to know when the teachers will be placed on the payroll.
And we have 2 questions to be considered, understanding order number 80. The first question is coming from Chinsali Member of Parliament, Mr. Kalare Mukosa, and his question is directed to the Minister of Health. Part A of the question, he wants to know how many malaria-related deaths were reported in Chinsali constituency and Chinsali district from 2021 September to 2025 year by year. And part B of the question, what measures the government is taking to prevent and control malaria outbreak in the district.
So after consideration of some questions for oral answer understanding order number 80, these are ordinary questions and questions of an ordinary nature. We expect the House to consider grouped questions for oral answer understanding order number 23. And then later on, we do have a private member's motion, which will be moved by Mr. Mtaya Chalo. And later on, we expect resumption of debate on the President's address. At about 14:30, we take you into the chamber for the live parliamentary proceedings. And maybe just before Madam Speaker's procession comes in, let's just look at that private member's motion that is expected to be moved by Mr. Mtaya Chalo. And he moves a motion to regulate the registration of trade unions to minimize multiplicity within industries. That this House urges the government to regulate the registration of trade unions to minimize multiplicity within industries.
Honorable members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Yeah.
Just like there's no ceremony.
ceremony is done at State House.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wit and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We want freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by those who blend. Let us, all our people, join as one, brothers under the sun, oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry, dignity and peace in Zambia's sky. Like a noble eagle in its flight, Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Green and we stand under the flag of our land, Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Amen. Honorable members, I have some announcements to make. Honorable members, I've received communication to the effect that in the absence of our honored Vice President, who is attending to other government business, the Minister of Defense, Honorable Ambrose Lufuma, MP, has been appointed acting leader of government business in the House from today, Tuesday, 17th March 2026, until further notice. I thank you. The next announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of students and lecturers from Destiny Education Center School in Sibuyunji District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may be seated. The next announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Holy Cross Convent School in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may be seated. The next announcement. Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Timwani School in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may be seated. Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of a group of members from the Movement for Restoration of Education and Teachers' Affairs in Zambia in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. The next announcement. Honorable members, I wish to inform the House that the University Teaching Hospital, Women and Newborn Hospital, has been authorized to conduct free cervical cancer screening for interested female honorable members of Parliament and female staff of the National Assembly. This initiative forms part of the activities for celebrating the International Women's Day and is aimed at promoting early detection and prevention of cervical cancer. The screening exercise started yesterday, March 16th, March 2026, and will run up to Wednesday, 18th March 2026, from 9 hours to 16 hours at the National Assembly Clinic, Parliament Main Buildings. Interested female members of Parliament are encouraged to take advantage of this important health initiative. I thank you. Even prostrate. The next announcement. Honorable members, on 8th March 2026, Zambia joined the international community to celebrate the International Women's Day under the theme Rights, Justice, Action for all women and girls. As you are aware, this was the last International Women's Day of the 13th National Assembly. In light of this, the Right Honorable Madam Speaker will host a meet and greet breakfast for members of the Zambia Women Parliamentarians Caucus on Wednesday, 18th March 2026. The breakfast will be from 7:30 to 10:30 hours at the National Assembly of Zambia. The meet and greet breakfast is intended to provide an opportunity for the Right Honorable Madam Speaker to interact with female members of Parliament, to share experiences from the 13th National Assembly, and reflect on the role of women in advancing gender equality and women empowerment in politics. I therefore encourage all female members of Parliament to make every effort to attend the meet and greet breakfast. The participation is on voluntary basis. I thank you. The last announcement. Honorable members, as the House is aware, the debate on the motion of thanks, which commenced on Tuesday, 24th February 2026, is scheduled to conclude tomorrow, Wednesday, 18th March 2026. In this regard, as earlier announced on Thursday, 5th March 2026, the remaining 2 days of debate, today, Tuesday, 17th March 2026, and tomorrow, Wednesday, 18th March 2026, have been reserved for contributions from Cabinet and provincial ministers. I therefore wish to encourage all honorable ministers to make their contributions at the earliest opportunity and not to defer to the last minute. I thank you. Urgent matters without notice. The Honorable Member for Chawama.
Madam Speaker, this question is directed to
The matter?
the leader of the matter without notice, directed to the leader of the government business. Chawama constituency at the moment is extremely flooded. Mrs. Cook and parts of John Howard. The water levels at the moment are reaching up to the window level. What is the government doing to make sure that our people are safe in those constituencies, in that constituency? And what could be the long-term solution to that? I thank you, Madam Speaker. And I seek your indulgence.
Thank you so much. When did the flood start? For the water to reach the...
Yesterday they were very unbearable.
Thank you. I'm sure the floods didn't start yesterday. I would advise the Honorable Member for Chawama just to come up with a question as soon as possible so that it can be attended to within this week. But please do consult her Honor the Vice President. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, allow me to direct an urgent matter without notice to the acting leader of government business.
Honorable members.
Madam Speaker, on the 1st of March 2023, you authorized me to come and present a motion urging government to transform Zambia into a 24-hour economy. Madam Speaker, on that day, the motion was shot down. And Madam Speaker, I'm learning that yesterday, Cabinet had a meeting at which Cabinet resolved, which is very good news, Madam Speaker, that we need to put modalities in place to transform Zambia into a 24-hour economy. The very motion, Madam Speaker, we debated here. Madam Speaker, is the leader of government business in the House in order, Madam Speaker? Is he in order? Not to acknowledge the efforts of the people of Kamfinsa constituency to raise advocacy and public awareness, Madam Speaker, on this very, very important topic of transforming Zambia into a 24-hour economy. I've read the statement from the Minister of Information. There's no acknowledgement of the advocacy work which we've been doing, Madam Speaker, for the last 2-3 years. Is it in order, Madam Speaker, not to acknowledge that the Honorable Member for Kamfinsa moved a motion to transform Zambia into a 24-hour economy? Is government in order, Madam Speaker? Are they in order not to acknowledge? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa, which source did you get the information?
Madam Speaker, the Minister of Information has published resolutions of Cabinet, and the first resolution is that Zambia will become a 24-hour economy. The same motion that I brought to this House. Is it in order not to acknowledge the efforts of the people of Kamfinsa? Madam Speaker, is it in order? Are you in order as government not to acknowledge the work that I did on this floor? Are you in order as government, Madam Speaker? Are they in order?
Honorable Member for Kamfinsa, that matter of yours was presented, was it on 1st March? Yes. 2020?
2023, Madam Speaker. I just want them to acknowledge, Madam Speaker.
No, Honorable Member for Kamfinsa, that matter does not qualify as an urgent matter. Nobody is going to die. There is no catastrophe that is going to happen. So that matter is inadmissible. We now move to the Honorable Member for Kantanchi.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. And Let me start by acknowledging the appointments of our two colleagues, the Minister of Health and Minister of Small Scale Business. You are coming at a time when government is having challenges to explain to the country the good programs and the work that it has been able to do. I hope you take advantage and disseminate the right information to our people. Madam Speaker, we are now on day 17th of the Iran-America-Israel war, and there are various reports indicating that one of the key challenges we're going to have around the world is the cost of fuel and the availability of that fuel. Madam Speaker, I am aware that ERB did make some statements, and was that today in the morning, the President was meeting the Energy Regulation Board. However, Madam Speaker, this is a people's house. Information that comes from here is what people listen to. Energy, as you know, Madam Speaker, or fuel, as you know, is a driver of our economy. And there are so many things that this government has been able to achieve, including the economic growth rates that we're talking about now. But this war, which none of us in here planned for, has to be responded to. And it's a responsibility of government. I wanted to find out from you whether the acting leader of government business is in order to be here and not to mention anything about the measures, contingency measures, immediate measures that government will carry out to protect our economy. Because what is currently happening is worrisome. And therefore, government should be able to take the lead in protecting what it has already been able to achieve, especially economically. I'm seeking for your indulgence for the sake of our people in contention. And to make matters worse, Madam Speaker, already fuel shortages have started. In Ndola, I struggled to find diesel. So that is the premise of my matter, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Okay. The Honourable Member for Kantanshi, there was a ministerial statement that was given by the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs over the same matter, the war in Iran and America. I would advise you, Honourable Member, maybe to come up with an urgent question. Otherwise, we cannot repeat the same ministerial statement that was already given. Come up with a question. We make progress. Questions for oral answer understanding order number 82. The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I have the great honor and privilege to ask question number 249 to the Minister of Education. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Member for Kamfisa asked the following questions. A, whether the government is aware that teachers who were recruited under the 2025 replacement category are experiencing financial hardship due to the prolonged delay in being placed on the government payroll. B, what the cause of the delay is in placing the teachers on the payroll. And C, when the teachers will be placed on the payroll. The answer. Madam Speaker, government is aware of concerns raised regarding teachers recruited under the 2025 replacement exercise who have not yet been placed on the payroll. However, I wish to clarify that the government has a clear policy which requires that teachers must first be placed on the payroll before they commence duty. Therefore, teachers who are not yet on the payroll have not been deployed to start work. On B, Madam Speaker, the delay in placing some of the newly recruited teachers on the government payroll has arisen in situations where a vacancy occurred following the retirement of a head teacher or other senior teacher. In such instances, the approved public service establishment requires that internal promotions be effected first in order to fill the higher position before a vacancy can be created at the lower level to allow for the placement of a newly recruited teacher. This process must be completed in accordance with the laid down public service procedures before payroll placement can be finalized. On C, Madam Speaker, in addressing the matter, the Minister of Education, working in collaboration with the Teaching Service Commission and other relevant authorities, is expediting completion of the necessary internal promotions arising from retirements and other staff movements. Government therefore wishes to assure the House that all the affected teachers are continuously being placed on the payroll, and the process will be completed by 31st of July, 2026. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The consultations are too loud. The Honorable Member for Lunte, I had mentioned that your consultations are too loud. Kindly lower your voices. You may take your seat. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the motivation behind my question, which came through an urgent matter on the 5th of March, was basically a complaint from people that have received appointment letters. So Ministry of Education, Madam Speaker, has been issuing appointment letters for teachers to be recruited by government. The response from the minister who is acting is that these individuals will only be placed on the payroll in the month of July. Now, Madam Speaker, these individuals have been working for 8 months so far. We are not discussing volunteers, people who simply go to an education facility to go and see what is happening. We are discussing people that have appointment letters. My first follow-up question therefore, Madam Speaker, why did government issue appointment letters assigning young people to schools? These have been assigned. Go to Justin Kawe Basic School in Kamfinsa. Go to Buchi Primary School in Nkana. They've been assigned. So, Honorable Minister, my first follow-up question, why did government issue appointment letters when the money to pay them is not available? Madam Speaker, that is my first follow-up question.
The Acting Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, I did say that the government policy requires that teachers must first be placed on the payroll before they commence duty. Before they commence duty, that is what I said. That's notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, I wish to clarify that. I wish to give further information to say that as a result of the procedure that I've just indicated, government recruited a total of 4,319 teachers under the July 2025 replacement exercise, out of which 2,705 teachers have already been placed on the government payroll across the 10 provinces, while for the others, the process is ongoing. So therefore, Madam Speaker, it is not as if nothing has happened. The process has started, and some have already been put on the payroll. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, the affected teachers would be very interested to find out from the acting Minister of Education. When government employs a teacher and for some reason they are not, they don't report for work, a replacement has to be found. Meaning the teacher, that slot or that space for recruitment has a number. Meaning when you're doing a payroll, you are basically replacing the name, but the slot or the position still remains. My question, therefore, on behalf of the affected teachers, when 4,000 teachers were recruited on replacement in July, there were those numbers, I don't know if they call them PEMIC numbers, I don't know what name they are given. You are replacing a person, so why not just assign the same number assigned to the person that you are replacing, so that the payroll is the same, because you're just replacing the name. And that is the outcry from the teachers who are affected, Madam Speaker. Why can't government just quickly place the 4,000 teachers on the payroll? Because they are replacing those that were already employed. Meaning, Treasury Authority, Madam Speaker, was already approved. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Education.
I think this is what I was explaining, Madam Speaker. Some have already been placed on the payroll. The thing is that we can't just put all of them in 1 minute. It is a process, and this is what is happening. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, the people we are talking about, or the Honourable Member for Kamfinsa is talking about, they were given employment letters and they started working. Now, from the 4,000 that were recruited, you have indicated that around somewhere around 2,700 they have been put on the payroll. The other 1,300 have not been put on the payroll, so they are waiting. Now, to explain to them that we cannot put you at the same time until July, I think that reason, it cannot be understood by a person who is working and is not getting a salary. So, for 8 months plus. So, are you trying to say, when you put these people who have been working and have not been getting paid a salary for 8 months, when you put them on the payroll in June this year, June, July this year, are they going to be paid the arrears for the months they have been working? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, that is an administrative issue that will be taken up when those people, it is an administrative issue that will be taken up, and the teachers can see their administrative heads, the debts, to be able to clarify that. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Minister, for your responses. Honourable Minister, you have stated that, of course, those teachers whom you recruited, I think the 2,000 for teacher replacement, that is for 2025, as you have said that they will be put on the payroll in July this year. Now, Honourable Minister, your government has announced that they are going to recruit 3,500 teachers this year. Now, if those teachers, 2,000 teachers plus, have not yet been put on the payroll, is there any possibility that those teachers who will be employed this year will be put on the payroll this year? I submit.
The Acting Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, the answer is yes. When you doubt, it's like doubting those days when we said we are going to recruit 30,000 teachers, and people said, no, it will not happen. But it happened. So in a similar fashion, when we say this is what is going to happen, just believe. Just believe, because it will happen. Don't be a disbeliever. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Chipiri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, the issue here is the replacement, not recruitment, new recruitment of teachers. You were just replacing, and you had the numbers, those who retired, who were removed on the payroll, and then you were replacing new ones. And that's the reason why you had to write them appointment letters. Honourable Minister, why can't you just say, sorry, I have no explanation that I can give to so many people than what you are saying? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order. Order. Is that a point of order? Before the acting Minister of Education comes in, there's an indication for a point of order. The Honourable Member for Lunte.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. Madam, I raise this point of order on the acting leader of business in the House. Madam Speaker, the acting leader of business in the House needed to act like one who is leading business in the House by allocating a question to a minister who can respond to those matters. Madam, the acting leader of business knows that the substantive Minister of Education is not in the House today. Why should he pick on a good man, Honorable Dr. Msokotwane, the Minister of Finance, when he knows that this minister cannot answer these questions? Is he in order to select the doctor who is a good man and also who knows things in his area, instead of even getting, I know they are, even getting somebody like my old friend here from Livingstone to answer this question? Is he in order to misconduct himself like this by wrongly directing a question? I seek your serious ruling, Madam Speaker.
Order, Honourable Members. The acting leader of government business is in order by appointing another minister to cover up for a minister who is not there. And as far as I'm concerned, I've been listening. He answered the question, then I called for supplementary questions. Now, the issue which is there is that the honourable members, maybe some of you are not happy with the questions, but the answers, but the honourable minister responded. And the question is still on the floor. The honourable member for Lunte, I said the acting leader of government business was in order by appointing somebody to respond to the question that was asked on the floor of the House. Whether we are happy with the questions or not, the honourable minister is doing his job, he's responding. So we make progress. We are going to have the response by the acting Minister of Education. Should we repeat the question? The honourable member for Chipiri had asked the question.
I understood it as a comment.
Okay.
Because I was disputing the answer that I gave earlier on. And in any case, Madam Speaker, I keep on saying, when you have thousands of people waiting to be put on the payroll. It takes time, okay? It takes time. You have to process paper, you have to process the papers one by one. And this is what is happening. And I did indicate, Madam Speaker, that it's not as if nothing has happened. Of the 4,319, more than half have already been put on the payroll. That should give you confidence that the process is rolling on. Yeah. Madam Speaker, I thank you. Yeah.
I'll get to the last two, the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu and the Honorable Member for Chiengi. The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to pose a follow-up question. But before I do, Madam Speaker, just permit me to congratulate you and commend you as the first board chairperson for the newly launched Institute for Parliamentary Studies and Training, which is long overdue. We commend you. And on a lighter note, Madam Speaker, I would like you to facilitate for us, I and my honorable colleague from Mwense, Honorable Mabumba, to conduct an orientation workshop to be facilitated by Honorable Cheramoche, to orient our colleagues on your right-hand side, who are soon to join the club for former cabinet ministers. In a few weeks' time, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, please go straight to your question.
I just don't know how these two brothers of ours who have been appointed for a few weeks, how they are going to participate, because their orientation to become ministers is coinciding with that exit orientation workshop.
What is your question?
Madam Speaker, the follow-up question to the Honorable Minister. In fact, it's better that he's the one responding to the question. The procedure, Madam Speaker, of recruiting public servants starts with Treasury Authority from his ministry, which is given by the Secretary to the Treasury. Madam Speaker, that's what provides space for people to be put on the payroll. My question to him is, did the Ministry of Education obtain the Treasury Authority to recruit those numbers which are not yet on the payroll? I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Education.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. And on behalf of Honorable Kampyongo, MP for Shiwangandu, let me just rephrase what he started to say. What he should have said is to say to the two ministers, congratulations. Yeah. Not to talk about orientation. Because who oriented you when you were appointed Minister of Home Affairs? Madam Speaker.
Order.
Madam Speaker, he is a good man. But the answer to the question is that this is not a Treasury Authority issue. This is just an issue of the clerical work of effecting, putting people on the payroll. The Treasury Authority was already given. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chiengi.
Thank you so much. And once again, to all the women in the House, happy Women's Month as we continue celebrating ourselves. Madam Speaker, through you, thank you. And it's important, 2026.
You may continue with your question.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, my question to the Minister of Finance, the issue of having our fellow citizens, giving them that excitement that they've been given a job opportunity. And then at the end of the day, we are talking of people who had been just, loafing, doing nothing. And then you give them excitement as a government that we've given you a job. By the time you'll be giving them salaries, they'll be heavily indebted. Because as it now, it's been 8 months. I've got a lot of young people who've been employed under this replacement. Now, the question I have, how are you going to help these people you've not yet put on payroll in order for them not to face what they're facing right now? How are you going to do it? Are you going to pay them the salaries at once? Or again, you are going to tell them that you're going to start giving them in bits? Since they've been serving, and they've not been serving as volunteers, but as full-time employees. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a government that cares a lot about our young people, especially giving them job opportunities. This is why, for the first time in many, many years, this government employed so many teachers, employed so many health staff, employed so many policemen, security personnel. It was only under this government, which therefore demonstrates that this is a government that cares about its citizens. I don't want to make comparisons with previous governments, especially the very last one. And I want to say that in this particular case, over the last 4 years, you have not even heard of people not getting their salaries on time. Previously, people were not getting their salaries on time. This is no longer happening. So I'm just mentioning this to tell you that we feel for these young people. This is why we are going to push very hard so that the remaining 1,500 out of the 4,300, the remaining 1,500, those should be processed even faster. Madam Speaker, I was just reminded by one of my colleagues here, I will not point the finger at them, when I said Honorable Kapyongo is a good man, I was rebuked and told that this is actually a very bad man. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
There is an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, what is your point of order?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is an honorable guest house. And it's important that when we are here, we conduct ourselves accordingly. First of all, the Honorable Minister of Finance, who is responding to this very important question, which has troubled our young men and women who have been duped and by being recruited as teachers when government can't pay them. And I don't know how that connects with what the Honorable Minister is insinuating of saying people in the past were not being paid on time. I don't know whether it's that time when he was minister, because this is the second time he's minister, Madam Speaker. He's not being specific, whether it was that time when he was Chwela, Minister of Finance, or now. Now he has allowed himself to be misled by the person sitting next to him, who has failed to apologize to the farmers, who he was repeatedly deceiving in this house. The Minister of Finance knows that I'm a good man, but he's being misled by the Minister sitting up in Vansala, sitting next to him. Is it in order, Madam Speaker, first of all, to accept to be misled by the Honorable Minister responsible for hunger and expensive meal by making changes position he knows about me. But more importantly, without clarifying when the people were not being paid, whether it was that time when he was Minister for Chela, or indeed this time around, because this is when we are talking about teachers being recruited and not being paid. I seek your serious ruling, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, that point of order is not admissible. You actually debated the point of order and you didn't even state the breach. You brought up about 3 matters in one point of order, so it's not admissible. Questions for oral answer? Questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 80. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 250.
The Honorable Minister of Health. Order, honorable members, let's give him chance.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. First and foremost, Madam Speaker, I want to thank you that I have the opportunity to respond to a question from Honorable Kalarum from Chinsali, and also the opportunity to thank the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for the fact that he has put good policies in this country and to make sure there is no vacuum in attending to challenges, especially in the health sector. So, Madam Speaker, Honorable Kalalwe Mukosa, MP for Chinsali, asked a question to the Minister of Health in 2 parts. A, how many malaria-related deaths were recorded in Chinsali district from 2021 to September 2025, year by year? And in part B, what measures the government is taking to prevent...
Order, honorable members, let's not disturb the new minister.
I repeat part B, Madam Speaker, what measures the government is taking to prevent and control malaria in the district. Madam Speaker, our response is as follows. Part A, Madam Speaker, malaria-related deaths recorded in Chinsali district from 2021 to September 2025 based on the routine health facility data were as follows. In 2021, we recorded 30 deaths. In 2022, 16 deaths. In 2023, 13 deaths. And in 2024, 14 deaths. January to September 2025, only 9 deaths were recorded. Madam Speaker, in Part B, to prevent and control malaria in Chinsali district, the government is implementing a comprehensive package of interventions in line with the Zambia National Malaria Elimination Strategy of 2022 to 2026. These include the distribution of long-lasting insecticide-treated nets through mass campaigns and routine antenatal and EPI services. By EPI, we mean expanded program on immunization. Secondly, environmental management to reduce mosquito breeding sites. Also, prompt diagnosis and treatment using diagnostic tests that are rapid in nature, and also adenosine-based combination therapies. Number 4, deployment of trained community health workers in not only Chinsali, but in most rural health areas. And also strengthening malaria prevention in pregnancy through intermittent prevention and treatment. Intensification of social and behavioral change communication and enhancement of malaria surveillance. And further, Madam Speaker, the government has introduced the malaria vaccine, and this was done in October 2025, and as of December 2025, 3,296 children had received dose 1 of malaria, and 2,635 children had received dose 2, and 1,726 children had received dose 3 in Chinsali district. Madam Speaker, I thank you, and we're ready for substantive questions.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, let me begin by congratulating you on your appointment. And as I do, let me also congratulate my other colleague who's been appointed in the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises. Honorable Minister, as you responded to the question posed by my honorable brother, you began by praising President Hakainde Hichilema's policies in the health sector. And you did so with hindsight, because you already had numbers in terms of how many people died from 2021 to 2025 as a result of malaria in Chinsali. My quick math gave me 73 people dying in that period. Somebody is reminding, or correcting my math, that it's actually 82. My honorable minister, how do you reconcile the death of 82 people in one district with good policies in the health sector as promulgated by President Hakainde Hichilema? Thank you, Madam.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I want to repeat what I said: 2021, 30, 2022, 16, 2023, 13, 2024, 14, and as of September 2025, 9. Maybe the summation that my brother, Honorable Kafuaya, is stating 80, maybe it is a summation of this. But from the data that we have coming from Chinsali in the health centers, this is what is recorded. And Madam Speaker, we received the data on the deaths related to malaria from the districts, and that is what we base our facts on. What my brother said may not be factual, but if it is a summation, then it may be approximate, based on the figures that I've stated, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And now I can take an opportunity to congratulate the Honorable newly appointed Minister for his appointment. Honorable Minister, you mentioned a couple of measures that you have put in place. But you may wish to know that Chinsali district is mainly peri-urban, and in this case, the villages. Whilst it has seen a number of health facilities constructed, the biggest challenge is drug supply chain, which has been a challenge. What what would be your assurance to the people of Chinsali in terms of availability of medicines, in addition to those measures that you mentioned? Because now we don't even see the distribution of mosquito nets as it used to be in the past. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. The government, as at now, is in the process of procuring the necessary drugs, and we already have the health kits in place, which are being distributed. However, we do acknowledge the challenge in terms of stock levels in the various districts. Madam Speaker, the government is working flat out day and night to ensure that availability of these health kits and all essential medicine are made available, including Chinsali and all other parts that are endemic to malaria. So we do acknowledge that, and efforts are being done even to expedite the procurement of essential medicine through ZAMSA. And at this point in time, Madam Speaker, we are equal to the task involving the management at ZAMSA to make sure that this is expedited. Madam Speaker, just to add on to the response, as we are speaking now, we have a number of cooperating partners that are on board, and insecticide-treated nets are procured and are in country, and more are coming. By September, before the peak of malaria, we expect that most parts of the country would have received these insect-treated mosquito nets, including Chinsali. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to congratulate the Minister also for having been appointed to this position. Allow me also to congratulate my honorable brother, he's walked out, Honorable Malama, for having been appointed in the position of Minister for Small Scale. Madam Speaker, coming to my question, I would like to find out from the Minister. He indicated that in 2021, we lost 30 people from malaria. Then in 2022, 16 died. In 2023, 13 died. 2024, 14 died. And 2025, up to September, 9 people died. Meaning the total number that died in Chinsali alone is 82. 82 people from 2021 to 2025 died from malaria, Madam Speaker. This is of great concern, Madam Speaker, because I think at this time and era, we can't be losing people to this significant number from malaria. So what I would like to find out from you, Honorable Minister, is on this issue of malaria vaccination, which you stated that it has commenced in Chinsali. You only talked about children. Is this vaccination also applicable to adults, or it is only applicable to children? Because we would want, if it is applicable to adults, I would like my people in Chinsali, all of them, to also be vaccinated, so that I don't want anyone to die from malaria in Chinsali. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and Honorable, thank you for your follow-up question. Madam Speaker, it needs to be noted that the malaria vaccine was launched, as I indicated, in October 2025. So this is newly initiative. So it is indeed the effort of the government through the AP, which is expanded program on immunization, that from the time the launch was done, we have vaccinated mainly the children because they are the most susceptible category when it comes to malaria, as well as pregnant women. And this is why we do emphasize that during antenatal, our women attend and comply and make sure that they receive prophylaxis for malaria. So, Honorable, just to give you a comfort and to provide further figures, Madam Speaker, the government introduced the malaria vaccine, as I said, in 2025 as part of the routine immunization. In 2025, we had a total of 204,643 children that received the first dose, giving us 97% of the target. And we had 117,463 children who received the second dose, giving us 63% of the target. And 38,163 that's received the third dose, giving us 41%. Madam Speaker, that is at national level. This indicates strong initiative or an initial uptake, but a drop in completion across the sequence of doses. So it is incumbent upon us as leaders to emphasize and sensitize through the community health workers that children need to receive vaccination. And Madam Speaker, also when we talked about the other interventions that the government is talking about, giving treated insects nets, or these nets which are treated with ivermectin, treated nets given to the communities, especially in rural areas. We need to emphasize that they keep using those nets. But in some areas, we have found that they are used to catch fish. So, Honorable Mukosa, I encourage you that you need to keep on sensitizing the people in your area so that we indeed bring this malaria down. Madam Speaker, just further information. The figures that you have brought or have stated from 2021, this is when the UPND came into power. And we have seen the figures dropping from 30 deaths in Chinsali to 16 in 2022, to 13 in 2023, to 14 in 2024. This is an effort that the government is putting in place. And the intention is actually to eliminate malaria. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for the answer you provided. I would like to find out, because in your substantive response to the question, you indicated that one way of eliminating malaria in Chinsali or reducing the malaria cases in Chinsali is by giving treated mosquito nets in Chinsali. So I would like to find out the number of mosquito nets that you have targeted to give to the people of Chinsali in this year, 2026. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I do not have the actual figures because, as I indicated, that we have mosquito nets that are in country and more consignment is underway. So we have not yet sat to see the allocation, how it is going to be. So for now, that information cannot be provided, but in due course, it will be provided. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Bwana Mkubwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister of Health. Let me take also this opportunity to congratulate you for your appointment as Minister of Health, together with our colleague, Honorable Malama, as Minister of Small Scale. Madam Speaker, I've followed the Minister keenly on his submissions and the interventions that government is taking to ensure that people of Chinsali district, in terms of mitigation of malaria, Minister, if you look at the statistics, we've seen the downward trend, but overall, I think 83 as a number is high. So what other interventions are you doing? Are you escalating to rural centers to ensure that they've got adequate test kits to ensure that malaria is detected at the quickest possible time to avert malaria-related deaths? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker, in the 2026 budget, there has been an increase in terms of surveillance, in terms of prevention, in terms of drug procurement, and also the training of community health workers. And it is through such interventions that we are going to see a decline as more efforts are being put and as more partners come on board. Just to state that from the figures of the insect-treated nets that are coming in the country, on average, the endemic areas and districts will receive about 117,771 insect-treated nets. And this is one of the efforts that is going to make sure that the cases are reduced. So, Madam Speaker, there are many other interventions which I may not state now, but suffice to say that this is what we are doing. So we expect the cases to go down. Madam Speaker, it is also important to note that at some point the cases increased due to the fact that 2024 we had sufficient rains. And each time we have rainfall in abundance, the breeding sites for mosquitoes, especially those which transmit malaria, the Anopheles mosquitoes, these they breed more when there is conducive environment. And 2025 and 2026, we have noted that there is also heavy rains in most parts of the country. And this is why the government is putting in all these efforts to make sure that before the peak period for malaria transmission in endemic areas, we have all these measures put in place. Madam Speaker, thank you.
The Honorable Member for Ron.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving the opportunity to the people of Ron constituents to ask a follow-up question. And before I do that, Madam Speaker, let me join my colleagues in patting on the back of our newly appointed Minister of Health and that of SMEs for the well-deserved appointments. And we are sure that the Honourable Minister will live up to the task. And Madam Speaker, the Minister has answered part of my question, but I want to find out from him, having outlined that the measures that his ministry is taking to ensure that they tackle this issue of malaria in Chinsali. Honourable Minister, how much residual spraying are you conducting, or have you been able to be conducting residual sprays in the homes, apart from the other measures that you have itemized, coupled with giving the people of Chinsali the anti-malaria drugs before malaria actually happens? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Indoor residual spraying, as I indicated, is one of the measures that the government has put in place in order to reduce transmission. Madam Speaker, the treated nets that we are using or distributing have the long-lasting insecticide in it. And as I indicated, depending on the number of health workers that we have engaged, the community health workers, and through the policy of devolution of primary health care to the local authority, engaging the local authority staff. Madam Speaker, we are moving far and wide to make sure that malaria cases are reduced. So concerted effort is not just through the Ministry of Health, but also multi-sectoral approach, using the means of local government, using the means of community development, and other ministries, Ministry of Education, coming in through sensitization and awareness. All those are efforts that we are putting in place to make sure that malaria cases are reduced. Madam Speaker, may I take this opportunity also just to further guide and indicate to the nation that malaria deaths in 2021, as a nation, we stood at 1,315 in 2021, the whole nation. As of 2022, Madam Speaker, the total was 1,493, the number of people that died. So there was a slight increase at that time. Madam Speaker, we are the peak.
Honourable Member for Lundazi. You are disturbing the House. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you to leave the House.
Madam Speaker.
Can we observe order? Of the Honourable Minister, you may continue.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I'm giving very sensitive information to the nation so that we are able to see how we are progressing in terms of the agenda for elimination of malaria. Madam Speaker, in 2025, we had 1,221 deaths that were recorded, indicating a slight increase, but remaining below the peak of 2023. So these are the efforts, and Madam Speaker, well, progress has been made. Since 2023, the fluctuations highlight the need to sustain and strengthen malaria control efforts across the country. Madam Speaker, thank you.
The last member, the Honourable Member for Kasenengwa.
Madam Speaker, thank you for this opportunity, and may I say hats off to you, the new Minister of Health, on your astounding appointment, and indeed to our colleague, Honorable Malama. Madam Speaker, I wanted to find out from the Minister of Health if they have any plan to eradicate malaria completely, not only in Chinsali, but across the country. Because in his statement, he's talking more about reducing the malaria cases, as opposed to talking about eradicating malaria completely, like is the case in Lusaka. So that when we go to our constituencies, Madam Speaker, we do not have to worry to have caught malaria and then our productivity is disturbed. So I just wanted to get an answer from him. And I hope, Madam Speaker, he will take this opportunity to answer the first question from Honorable Member for Lunte, where he wanted to find out how they are reconciling the good policies of the government and 82 people who have died of malaria in the last 4 years. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much, and Honourable Member, thank you for that question. Madam Speaker, we do note that we have partners. For example, the Global Fund is one of the key partners in the funding of the agenda for elimination and prevention of malaria. Madam Speaker, it is difficult to eradicate, but it is possible to keep all these efforts working to make sure that we keep reducing the cases. Madam Speaker, because there are many factors that are involved. For example, as I indicated, if we bring mosquito nets to a particular region like in Chinsali, if people are not sensitized, they are not aware of the behavioral change. For example, the livelihood of the people of Chinsali and many parts of our rural areas is that of shifting cultivation. So you find that even when you do indoor residual spraying, they'll be protected at that particular time, but again, when they have to move into the field, they are exposed to malaria. So that becomes a bit difficult to ensure that we completely eradicate malaria. So, Madam Speaker, it is efforts that have to be made through our partners, allocating more resources to that agenda. Eventually, when every part of the population is educated, is aware, and all behavioral change is observed, we expect that we are indeed going to have a decrease. Right now, Madam Speaker, we have about 30 to 40 incidents of malaria. This is already an effort that indeed the policies of the government are working. So, in future, Madam Speaker, we expect that indeed, with all government positions that is intended to eliminate, control malaria, and so on, we have a specialized unit, the National Malaria Elimination Center. This is driving the agenda and is responsible for the implementation of the strategies. Madam Speaker, the strategies we had were for 2022-2026. And currently we have the National Strategic Plan, which has itemized the measures that are being taken or will be taken from 2026 up to 2031 as plans in place to make sure that we continue reducing the cases of malaria. And peradventure, all things being equal, we should be able to eliminate malaria, because malaria remains one of the most health challenges that we have. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Next question, the Honorable Member from Fulira.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the Honorable Member for Chilubi, question 253.
25? 25?
253.
No, we are on 251.
Oh, 251. Sorry, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Question number 251, the Honorable, the Acting Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable Member for Chilubi, ask the Minister of Education the following questions. A, how many beneficiaries there were on the Keeping Girls in School program as of August 2025 countrywide? B, which province has the highest number of beneficiaries? And C, whether the government has any plans to increase the number of beneficiaries under the program. The response is as follows. A, Keeping Girls in School initiative is implemented under the Girls' Education and Women's Empowerment and Livelihood Project for Human Capital Development, which supports vulnerable girls to access, remain in, and complete their education, covering learners from grade 4 to grade 12 or from 6. During the first phase of the project, which ended in 2024, a total of 173,331 girls were supported countrywide. For the second phase, which commenced 2025, the project has continued to scale up support, and a total of 113,695 girls were supported across all the 10 provinces of the Republic of Zambia. Further, under the higher education component of the project, 3,047 female students have been supported through higher education loans and the scholarship board, and 108 beneficiaries have since successfully graduated. This outcome reflects government's deliberate policy to ensure that vulnerable girls are supported not only at primary and secondary schools, but to progress into tertiary education and skills development. Under B, province with the highest number of beneficiaries. Madam Speaker, beneficiary selection under the program is guided by poverty rankings and the concentration of social cash transfer beneficiary households with school-going girls. In the year 2025, Western Province recorded the highest number of beneficiaries with 16,500 girls supported, while Lusaka Province recorded the lowest number with 5,019 beneficiaries.
Order. Honorable members on my left.
Under C, plans to increase the number of beneficiaries. Madam Speaker, the government has plans to increase the number of beneficiaries under the Keeping Girls in School project from 113,695 girls supported in the year 2025 in 95 districts to 153,445 girls in 2026 across all the 116 districts. Madam Speaker, government remains resolute in its commitment to ensuring that no vulnerable girls is denied the opportunity to access and complete education due to financial constraints. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member from Fulira.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and Minister. Honorable Minister, you have mentioned the criteria based on the poverty levels per province. But I wanted to find out if there is a special consideration for girls who fall pregnant and want to go back into school, if this program offers special consideration for pregnant girls who want to go to school, that under this program they are given preferential treatment. I submit.
The Acting Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable, I'm not aware of such a facility. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Petauke Central.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity granted to Petauke Central. And I would also like to thank the Honorable Acting Minister of Education for the clarification on the matter. Madam Speaker, the people of Petauke Central would like to know what criterion are used to select beneficiaries for the program and whether these criterion have changed since its inception, because most of the girls in my constituency are being left out. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In my statement, I said that the criteria, the major criteria is vulnerability, normally associated with poverty. So if you have that problem, Honorable, I think you can approach the substantive minister here. I'm sure he'll be here tomorrow. And also, I think the DEBs in Petauke, they should be able to advise you on the procedures that is best followed so that the young girls in your constituencies also benefit. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Bangweulu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, how are you going to synchronize the keeping girls in school with the seed day of a secondary school bursaries? I just want to find out if there is plan to synchronize the two programs. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is why the policy of decentralization has come through, because those bursaries that you speak about under the CDF, they're under the control of the local council. So it is up to the council, of which you are a major player, discussing with the communities. Then the communities can choose and say, this one already has a bursary, so we move somewhere else. So the issue is really in your hands, Honorable. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The last member, the Honorable Member for Kasenengwa.
Madam Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I would like to find out from the Minister of Education. Minister, would you confirm the rumors that are going around that in some schools, pupils are given to be fed once per week according to their grades? For instance, on a Monday, it will be grade 1 only to feed. On Tuesday, maybe grade 2, just like that until Friday. Have you confirmed, because there are some stories going around that that's how pupils feed in some of these schools? Have you tried to follow up those reports to find out if that is really what is happening in these schools? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As far as I know, the children are entitled to feeding once every school day. Once every school day. That is what is in the place. So Monday, fed. Tuesday, fed. Wednesday, fed. Up to Friday. Yeah. That is what is in place. Yeah. So it's not once per week. No. If it's once per week, then there's a problem. That needs to be addressed. The government policy which is being implemented is once every day. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, grouped questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 83. The Honorable Member for Milengi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 252.
I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development to respond to questions 252, 253, and 254 as grouped questions. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. From Honorable Chonde, Member for Milenge, the following 3 questions. A, whether the government has any plans to construct a road to connect Milenge and the Chembe districts. If so, when the plans will be implemented, and if there are no such plans, why? We go to the question from Honorable Mulenga Fube, Member for Chilubi. 4 questions. A, whether government has any plans to construct roads connecting Samfya, Chifunabuli, and Chilubi districts. B, if so, when the project will commence. C, what estimated cost of the project is, and if there are no such plans, why? And from the Honorable Kalari Mukosa, Member for Chinsali, the following 2 questions. A, what the time frame for the construction of the following roads in Chinsali district is? 1, Lubwa to Nashinga Road. 2, Nkweto to Malule Road. And B, at what percentage of completion the projects were as of August 2025? Answer to Honorable Chonde's question is as follows. Government of the Republic of Zambia has plans to construct a road to connect Milenge to Chembe, that is D101 road in Luapula province. B, the project will be implemented subject to availability of funds from the Treasury. And C, as stated above, government has plans to construct a road to connect Milenge to Chembe. The answer to Honorable Mlenga Fube's question on connecting of Zambia to Funabuli to Lubi districts, we answer as follows. The government of the Republic of Zambia has plans to construct roads to connect Zambia to Funabuli and the Chilubi districts. B, the first phase of the undertaking has since commenced. C, the estimated cost of the project is 937,929,384 kwacha 17 way. And in D, as stated as above, government has plans to construct the roads connecting those three places. And the answer to the final question from the Honorable Member for Chinsali is the Lubwa Nashinga, which is RD 60 road, is being constructed under the Improved Rural Connectivity Project. That's IRCP, and this is on package 14. The construction works are expected to be completed within the third quarter of 2026. And two, the Nkweto to Malule, which is RD 64 road, is being constructed under the same IRCP and also package 14. The construction works are expected to be completed within the third quarter of 2026. B, the percentage completion for Lubwa Nashinga is 83.33%, while the percentage completion of Nkweto Malule road is 37.74%. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister. You have indicated that these two roads, Lubwa to Nashinga and Nkweto to Shimwalule roads, these two roads, they are going to be completed in the third quarter of 2026, and I think we are now in the first quarter. What assurance are you giving the people of Chinsali? Because the contractor who has been working on these two roads has been very slow, and this percentage of these completion points that you have stated do not speak to what is actually obtaining on the ground. When you look at the roads, they do not look like they have been done to 80-something%. So what assurance are you giving the people of Chinsali that these two very important roads in Chinsali, Lubwa to Nashinga Road and Nkweto to Shimwalure Road, will be completed in the third quarter of 2026?
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, in fact, I ask the Honorable MP to get involved by monitoring and letting us know if there are any issues on that on those two particular roads. These roads are being implemented under the IRCP, Improved Rural Connectivity Program. This is a program, Madam Speaker, which is funded by the World Bank. So the issue of disbursement of funds is not there. It depends on how much work the contractor does, presents the interim payment certificates, and they get reimbursed on that basis. Just for information, the contract which was signed on 20th January 2022, that is on both roads actually, because it's under the same package year 14. Is the total cost of 164,064,197 kwacha 93, with a total length of about 196.75 kilometers. So it's one of those projects which we expect good quality. We also expect it to be completed on time, as it is externally funded by the World Bank. If the honorable member is stating that on the evidence available at him, what we have said here is not what is actual. He is free to come and discuss this matter with ourselves to make sure that the contractor is pushed to conform to these completion terms. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Milenge.
Thank you, Minister, for the answers you gave about the connectivity between Milenge and the Chembe. Minister, I would like to have your attention, just to give you a little bit background of Milenge. The status of our road network in Milenge, which is serviced by two major roads. For the last 4 years, I have had engagements, even with yourselves. As we speak, there's no connectivity between Milenge and Chembe. The social services are disrupted in Nsonga ward. Now, you have answered to say you have plans. If you have plans, I'll be interested to know if there are costs involved. I hope I got you correct. We would like to know what would be the cost of constructing such a road before we even dream of having the immediate services. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, the honorable member is talking about the issues connecting these 2 points. Let me assure the honorable member that as of now, government of the Republic of Zambia, through the town council, is undertaking improvements on this particular stretch of road, on the Milenge Chembe Road, using CDF. I'm sure the honorable member is aware of that. He's asking about the cost. The estimated cost of upgrading the approximately 80 kilometers Milenge Chembe Road to bituminous standard, which is what he's referring to, is 1.196 billion kwacha. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Isoka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, through you, I would like to lobby for these two roads for Chinsali, which has been spoken by the Member of Parliament for Chinsali. Madam Speaker, I reside in Chinsali, and I know the situation about these roads. The roads are dilapidated, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like the President to help the people of Chinsali to construct these two roads, because these two roads, they pass through the pontoons to Kasama, Madam Speaker. The first road, which passes Lubwa to Nashinga, passes through the pontoon to Kasama. Another road from Nkweto to Mwalule, it passes through the pontoon to Kasama. It connects from Isoka to Chinsali through Chambesh Road, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I know the President is a listening President, and he's going to do what I have lobbied, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I submit. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
I would like to take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, to thank the honorable member for Isoka. I thought she resided in Isoka, not Chinsali, but she says she resides in Chinsali. To thank her for appreciating what sort of person the president is, that is a listening president, and so on. This is as it should be. People understanding and appreciating the good works and the good nature of other people. So I thank you for that. But in terms of the roads, as I've explained, these two roads are funded under the Improved Rural Connectivity Program. This is a program funded by the World Bank. There's no problem with money. And all we have to do is ensure that the contractor, if it's slow, let us know so that we put pressure on them. And we will. People at my ministry are listening to this presentation, and they should take it up from the regional engineers, what used to be called the provincial managers, to follow up this matter to make sure that the contractor, first of all, is doing a quality work, and secondly, do it timely to conform to these completion times that I have given. And thirdly, to ensure that the 3-year program of maintenance on these roads is undertaken to ensure the people that use this road will be adequately serviced. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Bangweulu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Minister, in response to a question whether government has plans to build roads to connect Zambia, Chiluvi, and Chifunabuli, the Minister said the government has plans and the first phase is already in place. So I just want to find out the stretch of the first phase and when the second phase is going to start and which stretch will be in the second phase. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for Honourable Kasandwe for that. Who is asking me what stretch are we? Because I have said that the work to connect these two places has started with the first stretch. I would have thought that he's fully aware of the geography in that area. The first stretch is the road from a place called Musaila towards Kasaba, that is in Chifunabuli. That is 80 kilometers. As you know, from Musaila to Ndogo Bridge, it's about 11 kilometers. That is already bituminous road. So from that point, for about 80 kilometers through Lubwe, all the way to Kasava, through the various chiefs, Chief Tembo, Senior Chief Mwerwa, and the Mwansa Kombe, that road will be done. If you understand the geography of that place, at Kasava, if you are to continue to go towards Luwingu, there is a plains area. Okay, so if that section is to be done, that will be a lot more expensive. That's about between 5 and 10 kilometers if you have been to Kasava. It will require a lot of resources to construct a causeway in that area. When that is done in the future, when resources are made available, it means that Luapula will be connected to Northern Province through Luwingu. And from Luwingu, obviously, there is a road that goes to Chaba, which is Chiluvi district, through chiefs like Chief Tungati and so on. So the plans are there. That is the first plan. And contract has already been signed on the Musaila to Kasava through Chiluvi district. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Milengi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Someone was disrupting me here. Yeah, Minister, we do appreciate that you have got plans to work on this road. The challenge that we have is that it lacks timelines. Now, to borrow your word, the geography of this area is quite challenging. The effects of the rains, both during the rain season and after the rain season. So are you able to place this particular area, as we are waiting for your plans, under some of your emergency programs? Because these people face perpetual disruption of social services owing to the geography of the area. Do you have plans as a ministry and the message that we can give the people of Lungomkuta that your government is caring about you? I seek your comment, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, these are grouped questions, so sometimes you don't know what is. But I assume that there is talking about the Chembe, Milenge to Chembe Road. That's what he's talking about. What he's asking is, do we have plans in the interim? Yes, that's why I've stated that in the interim, the council is undertaking spot improvements on this particular road, whilst under CDF, whilst waiting for the upgrading to bituminous standard at the cost that I've started, which is 1.196 billion. So yes, spot improvements to be followed when resources are available to upgrading to bituminous standard. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Private member's motion. The Honourable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to move that this House urges the government to introduce regulatory measures governing the formation and registration of trade unions in order to minimize multiplicity within industries while safeguarding the interests of Zambian workers.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Seconded by the Honourable Member from Fulira. The question is that this House urges the government to regulate the registration of trade unions to minimize multiplicity within industries. Any debate? The Honourable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me this rare privilege to move a non-controversial motion in regard to formation of trade unions in Zambia. Madam Speaker, trade unions play a fundamental role in promoting workers' rights, advocating for fair wages, and promoting decent working conditions. Madam Speaker, they provide an important platform through which workers can collectively engage employers on matters relating to wages, benefits, and work conditions. However, the rapid proliferation of trade unions in Zambia has created fragmentation within the labor movement. This has weakened collective bargaining power and creating inefficiencies in the labor market. Madam Speaker, speaking as a former trade union leader, I have received several concerns from the workers and stakeholders on the multiplicity of trade unions in this country. While Article 21 of the Zambian Constitution guarantees the right to freedom of association, the absence of clear regulatory measures resulted in formation of multiple trade unions representing workers within the same sectors and industries, hence ultimately undermining the strong voice of the workers. As the saying goes, united you stand, divided you fall. The current situation in Zambia. Madam Speaker, the Industrial Relations Act Cap 269 of the laws of Zambia governs formation and registration of trade unions in Zambia. Under this act, specifically Section 5 of the Industrial and Labor Relations Act and ILO Convention 87, workers have a right to form and join trade unions provided that an application is submitted to the Labor Commissioner and is supported by at least 50 signatories or a number prescribed by the Minister of Labor. However, the Act does not provide adequate mechanism to regulate multiplicity of trade unions within the same sector. According to the Zambia Congress of Trade Unions, ZCTU, register of 2025, there are currently 58 trade unions affiliated to Zambia Congress of Trade Unions. Notably, the education sector alone, Madam Speaker, has 12 affiliated trade unions. When additional unions that are not affiliated to ZCTU are considered, the number rises to 16 trade unions representing the teachers in this country. And I want to give an example, the background of trade unions in the teaching sector. Madam Speaker, for 27 years of UNIP and the colonial government, only one trade union was registered, that the Zambia Union of Teachers in 1953. Under the MMD government for 20 years, Madam Speaker, only the trade unions, 2 trade unions were registered in the teaching sector. Under the PF 10 years rule, only the 4 unions were registered in the teaching sector, while under the UPND government, 5 years, 9 unions have been registered in the teaching sector. Madam Speaker, the multiplicity of trade unions within a single sector has contributed to fragmented representation and weakened the collective bargaining process. Challenges arising from trade union multiplicity. The multiplicity of trade unions within the same sector has created several challenges, including the following: fragmentation of bargaining power. The existence of multiple unions representing the same workers often weakens the collective bargaining process and dilutes the workers' negotiating strength. Administrative burden on employers. Employers are required to engage in multiple unions in negotiations, which complicates labor relations and increases operation costs. Today, Madam Speaker, if you go and check when the unions in the teaching are negotiating, if you go to Sandry's recreation, it is almost like a rally because of 16 trade unions and all the leaders have to convey. How can you negotiate effectively for the teachers in such situation? Divided membership. There is competition among unions for membership. Competition among unions for membership may undermine their primary mandate of advocating for workers' rights. And this, Madam Speaker, it has created a situation whereby when the government employs teachers, for example, 2,000 teachers, most of the union leaders, they compete for membership, and that productivity suffers. And in the long run, the teachers today, you find that they have multiple deductions. Zambia National Union of Teachers is deducted. PETUs, they are deducted. You find that one payslip has 3 unions deductions, and that is creating serious problems. Madam Speaker, in the teaching sector, it has also contributed to artificial shortage of teachers, because once government employs teachers, you find most of the union leaders, they abandon classes as they compete for membership and they attend to union activities, creating widening teacher-pupil ratio. Weak sectorial representation. The absence of a unified voice reduces the ability of workers to effectively influence labor policies, labor policy reforms. Globalization, Madam Speaker, has led to privatization and anti-union activities. Therefore, there is a need to have strong trade union movement to effectively represent the interests of the workers. International best practice. Madam Speaker, several countries have adopted regulatory frameworks to manage the formation and registration of trade unions while promoting the workers' rights. In Nigeria has...
The consultations are becoming louder and louder. Can we please lower the voices? You may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In Nigeria, requires trade unions to demonstrate adequate representation before registration, and authorities may refuse registration if existing union sufficiently represent the workers concerned. In Kenya, it provides for a provisional registration period during which the registrar assesses whether the establishment of a new union is necessary. In South Africa, it has introduced pre-registration requirements under the Labor Relations Act to prevent unnecessary duplication of trade unions within industries. These approaches demonstrate that it is possible to regulate formation of trade unions while still protecting the constitutional right to freedom of association. Need for regulation framework. Madam Speaker, the right to freedom of association must be preserved. While the right to freedom of association must be preserved, there is a clear need to introduce measures that promote stronger, more effective, and more coordinated trade unions representation. Regulatory reforms may include reviewing the criteria registration of trade union in order to prevent unnecessary duplication within industries, strengthening the regulatory framework governing trade unions, establishing or strengthening institutional...
Please wind up. Your time is up.
Madam Speaker, such reforms will contribute to build a stronger and more unified labor movement capable of advancing the interests of the workers while promoting industrial harmony and national development. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to move. Thank you.
Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mfulira.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to second the motion, ably moved by the Honourable Member for Chama North, Honourable Mtachalo. This motion, Madam Speaker, is urging the government to introduce regulatory measures governing the formation and registration of trade unions in order to minimize multiplicity within industries while safeguarding the interests of the Zambian workers. In seconding this motion, Madam Speaker, I wish to state the following. Firstly, Madam Speaker, it is the right of every worker to belong to the union of their choice. In fact, this is even enshrined in our own constitution, in exercise of the freedom of association. However, Madam Speaker, as we all know, this freedom is not limitless. This motion, Madam Speaker, does not seek to limit the right of the worker to associate with the union of their choice, but it seeks to strengthen the voice of the worker by urging the government to regulate the formation and registration of trade unions in order to strengthen the voice of the workers' representation. In fact, this freedom, Madam Speaker, even at international level standards, seeks that there must be harmonization between the measures that are put in place in any country to form or register a union. There must be collaboration with the promotion of freedom of association. International labor standards, Madam Speaker, emphasize that the registration system of unions should be structured in a manner that supports the effective functioning of unions or workers' organizations. Madam Speaker, for example, the mover of the motion has given us an example. Just in the education sector in Zambia, we have about 16 unions representing the same sector. This fragmentation in this sector and many others talk about the mining sector. The situation is the same. This fragmentation of trade unions weakens the ability of trade unions to effectively influence the labor policy discussions. That is why this motion, Madam Speaker, is urging the government not to limit the workers' rights, but to strengthen the ability of the trade unions to effectively represent their members. The fewer the unions in each sector, the stronger the voice of the workers. Belonging to a union, Madam Speaker, let me move on to another point regarding what is obtaining in the country with regard to the administrative measures and the regulatory framework of the trade unions. In Zambia currently, there is an absence of a dedicated institutional mechanism responsible for regulating the trade unions. We do not have an institution other than the Labor Commissioner. It is within the powers of the Labor Commissioner to perform administrative and regulatory functions relating to trade unions. In other jurisdictions, given that the labor dynamics across the world have transformed, we have remained with this position in Zambia for a very long time. The current system that we have may not provide the level of specialized oversight required to effectively manage the evolving dynamics of the labor movement. And therefore, in order to strengthen the workers' voice, we need that institutional framework that will remove the regulatory and supervisory requirements from the Labour Commissioner to this institution that will reflect the current dynamics within Zambia and across the globe. Therefore, Madam Speaker, in concluding my seconding of this motion, I wish to urge the government and all the members in this House that as we seek to strengthen the voice of the workers, as we seek to protect the workers' rights, we need to support this motion so that we do not have a multiplicity of unions in the sectors and across the sectors. Because that multiplicity, as we have said, it weakens the workers' voice. To strengthen the workers' voice, we need as fewer as possible unions in each sector, and the workers' voice will be strengthened. I urge all the members, Madam Speaker, to support this motion because it's non-controversial, and we all are here representing the interests of the workers. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Any further debate? The Honourable Member for Chimwemwe.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. May I take this opportunity also to thank the mover of the motion and the seconder. Madam Speaker, regulate registration of trade unions to minimize multiplicity. Madam Speaker, I will be brief but concise so that I do not go over what my colleagues have already debated. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I'll start sounding like a broken record. Madam Speaker, let's look at the teacher union, like my colleague already alluded to. Madam Speaker, if we look at teacher unions, we have obviously more than enough. Madam Speaker, what we need is we need one union. One union, Madam Speaker, that will speak perfectly well and represent the members. Madam Speaker, if you look at the core mandate of labor movements, or is it what you call them, unions in general. Madam Speaker, one of them is to look at welfare of the members. The other one, Madam Speaker, is to improve the working conditions. And the other one, Madam Speaker, is better conditions. Madam Speaker, but if you really look at most of our unions, they dwell mostly, Madam Speaker, on better salaries. So they believe that this is a better lure, Madam Speaker, to actually bring in members into their union. Madam Speaker, why they do this is because, Madam Speaker, they look at the other union members who live luxurious lives, drive good cars better than them. Madam Speaker, this is the reason why, Madam Speaker, we need to regulate and ensure that, Madam Speaker, we've only got one or two unions representing them. Look at Betus. This is a basic union teachers. Madam Speaker, we have the professional teachers union. One wonders, which teacher, Madam Speaker, in Zambia is not a professional? Madam Speaker, you know, if we're talking about non-professional teachers, perhaps we're looking at the untrained teachers. Madam Speaker, that is just less than 1%. If I'm correct, Madam Speaker. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, most teachers have already gone to school and they're all trained and they've got the skills, and all of them, Madam Speaker, are specialized teachers. So why do we have all these unions, Madam Speaker, instead of just having one? Madam Speaker, if you look at the unions, most of the unions, Madam Speaker, whenever we have the budget session, most of them, Madam Speaker, do appear before your committees, and they understand, Madam Speaker, that the budget allocation to the Ministry of Education is actually less than the 20% as international standard. Meaning, Madam Speaker, that most teachers that need upgrades, Madam Speaker, can never be upgraded now until maybe government finds alternative sources of creating revenue or collecting revenue. Madam Speaker, but if you look at the union, if it was only one union, Madam Speaker, as they negotiate on the salary increment, Madam Speaker, they can actually look at the percentage that they agree with government, Madam Speaker, split it in half. For argument's sake, Madam Speaker, if it's 5% that they've been awarded, they could divert the 2.5%, Madam Speaker, to upgrade of teachers, convert that, Madam Speaker, into money, and see how much, Madam Speaker, of those members that need an upgrade can be captured. Madam Speaker, the other 2% can actually go across the board as salary increment. But Madam Speaker, but this cannot happen because we have so many of them. Each one of them, Madam Speaker, is looking for membership. And they know that to lure members, Madam Speaker, like I said earlier on, is to promise them that it will be all salary increment. But Madam Speaker, let's look at the mining sector now. Madam Speaker, when we had Moose As our only union at the mines, Madam Speaker, we had very few accidents. Right now, Madam Speaker, because we have more unions coming in, Madam Speaker, and we're also having more accidents. Madam Speaker, you agree with me that the more we have contractors coming from outside the country, the sooner they leave, Madam Speaker, we have workers. Madam Speaker, in the mines, we have labor, minimum labor, or let me say, bottom line of labor. Madam Speaker, we call them workmen if you're working underground. Others could call them helpers. Madam Speaker, these people have got experience working underground, but as handymen. Madam Speaker, but if they go for interviews, they're able to explain everything that happens underground, Madam Speaker, but they're not operators. And what they do is they doctor their record of service, Madam Speaker, because they've belong to so many unions. No union actually pays attention. So no new contractor, Madam Speaker, will actually check on the referees because most of those companies have already closed, Madam Speaker, and obviously their numbers go unanswered. Madam Speaker, if we only had one union, that union, Madam Speaker, would actually help most of these contractors, Madam Speaker, and we could reduce on the mine accidents, Madam Speaker. Why is the movement, Madam Speaker, insisting on just having a single union or perhaps few unions? Madam Speaker, one of the advantages would probably increase efficiency, Madam Speaker, and also reduce conflict. Madam Speaker, a single union avoids rivalry and membership poaching. A strong, unified voice, Madam Speaker, that's what we need. Madam Speaker, with those few words, I wish to support and I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Chasef.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice on this important item or motion. Madam Speaker, from the outset, I don't support the motion. The reasons are very straight, Madam Speaker. This motion stands in the rights of the workers. Zambia, being a member of the International Labour Organization, there's ILO Convention number 87, which gives the rights of the workers to belong to the unions of their choice. This is a right. You cannot start guiding workers to say all of you should stand in this union. That would be against their rights. Madam Speaker, we cannot start as government or parliament to start making laws to guide the people how to behave. Madam Speaker, the reasons that are being advanced by those who are for the idea of this motion, the reasons are very simple. They are saying that we have multiple unions or multiplicity of unionism in Zambia. The reasons are very simple. Why do we have unions? We should go back to the basics, Madam Speaker. When we call ourselves as representatives, we should be relevant to the people we represent. If I'm not relevant, I'm not doing what my members are expecting, I'll be out. Another union will come. But to come up with a law that all of you should stick into one, they have given examples of Betus, Zanot in the teaching fraternity. The issue is, what is the benefit of these contributors? These are workers. What is that benefit? When we form unions, we are representatives of the people, of the workers. And if our leadership is questionable, the workers should not be restricted or confined. They should be able to move to another union. We shall bring quality to leadership, Madam Speaker. We need quality to leadership. This convention was ratified by these member states. And as a government, you cannot do that. Look at what the NAPSA Act of 2020 brought. People were forced to belong to NAPSA. What has happened? Local Authorities Plantation Fund affected. Look at PSPF affected. Now people are forced there. So even those who saw the benefits in NASIF or PSPF were forced to go into a contribution fund that is not benefiting them. So now coming to this, we cannot start saying that we should have one union in this country. We cannot. Because the workers have that right. And that right is their right to belong. We should bring quality to leadership. Now it's a point of reflection for those who are in leadership of unions. How is our leadership? You will notice that even in the teaching fraternity, there are those unions who have more members. That means they are doing a good thing to their members. There are those who are just by name. There's just a few members. You know that that's not quality. And it becomes a difficult thing, Madam Speaker, if I may add this. If it means you are bargaining with one union, and if you happen to have, for lack of a better word, cantankerous leadership, there can be anarchy in the working environment. We must allow the workers to choose their own leaders, to belong to unions of their choice. Under this convention, it's their right. We cannot, as government, start restricting them. I'm against that motion. I've been in the union. And when I was in the union, I always wanted to be a good leader so that all members, there was no fragmentation. There were 2 unions in that industry because I was accountable to the people. But if you force me that, you have to belong to this union where it is, tomorrow I'll relax. Some of these unions, not to mention, to point at one, they don't even visit their members. They don't. And for them, they must work very hard so that they are relevant to the people they represent. So I don't support this motion. We must be relevant to the people we represent. Even us here. Some of these are saying questions. They have already run away from Mukana. They can't stand because they are not relevant there. Madam Speaker, we must prove to our people that when we are elected, we should be representing the people. Madam Speaker, this is a motion that should not be supported. So far, this government is doing very well. They've allowed the freedoms. Let the people form their own unions. And those who are relevant, the government has been accommodative. They should engage government. Madam Speaker, I can go on and on. But my friends here, they are already 2 months remaining. You are going, I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Point of order.
The Honorable Member for Namwala.
Thank you so very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, from the onset, I would want to indicate that I don't support this motion.
Order.
Madam Speaker.
As the time is 16:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes.
Business to continue at 17 hours. Thank you very much for everyone who's still watching Parliament TV. We appreciate your viewership. And just to mention that at the time business was being suspended, Namwala Member of Parliament, Mr. Rapani, was on the floor of the House contributing to debate on a motion that has been moved by Chairman North Member of Parliament, Mr. Mtaya Chalo. He did move a motion to regulate the registration of trade unions to minimize multiplicity within industries, that this House urges the government to regulate the registration of trade unions to minimize multiplicity within industries. And but had a number of members of Parliament who have contributed to debate on this particular motion. But just in case you've just tuned in and wondering what has taken place on the floor of the House, we'll just start by looking at some announcements that Madam First Deputy Speaker made earlier on today. Pauline.
Yes, Muta, we look at the announcements, and we had quite a number of announcements. And in the first announcement, the Honourable Madam First Deputy Speaker informed the House that she had received communication to the effect that in the absence of her Honour, the Vice President, who was attending to other government business, the Minister of Defence, Honourable Ambrose L. Lufuma MP, had been appointed to act as a leader of government business in the House from today until further notice.
After that, there were about 4 announcements in which Madam First Deputy Speaker recognized some visitors in the public gallery. And the first 3 was when she recognized pupils and teachers in the public gallery from 3 different schools. And these schools included Holy Cross Convent School in Lusaka. The second school was Temwani School in Lusaka District. And the third school was Destiny Education Center School in Shibuyunji District. Madam First Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly, welcomed the visitors. And then another announcement in which she recognized the presence, of course, in the public gallery of a group of members from the Movement for Restoration of Education and Teachers Affairs in Zambia from Lusaka District. As usual, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam First Deputy Speaker welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly of Zambia.
And Madam First Deputy Speaker also announced that on 8th March 2026, Zambia joined the international community to commemorate the International Women's Day under the theme Rights, Justice, Action for All Women and Girls. And she reminded the House that this was the last International Women's Day of the 13th National Assembly. And in light of this, the Right Honourable Madam First Deputy Speaker will host a meet and greet breakfast for female members of Parliament and those that belong to the Zambia Women Parliamentarians Caucus, ZWPC, on Wednesday, 18th March 2026. She said that the breakfast will be held from 7:30 hours until 10:30 hours at the National Assembly of Zambia. And she further mentioned that the meet and greet breakfast is intended to provide an opportunity for the Right Honourable Madam Speaker to interact with female members of Parliament, to share experiences from the 13th National Assembly and reflect on the role of women in advancing gender equality and women empowerment in politics. She is therefore encouraged all female members of Parliament to make every effort to attend the meet and greet breakfast. Madam First Deputy Speaker indicated that participation is on voluntary basis.
After that, Madam First Deputy Speaker made the last announcement, and this was basically when she informed the House that the University Teaching Hospital, Women and Newborn Hospital had been authorized to conduct free cervical cancer screening for interested female honourable members of Parliament and female members of staff of the National Assembly. And she did indicate that the initiative forms part of activities for commemorating the International Women's Day and is aimed at promoting early detection and prevention of cervical cancer. In her announcement, she went on to say that the screening exercise started yesterday, Monday, 16th March 2026, and would run up to Wednesday, 18th March 2026, from 09 hours to 16 hours at the National Assembly Clinic, Parliament Main Building. She encouraged interested female members of Parliament to take advantage of the very important health initiative. So those were the announcements that Madam First Deputy Speaker made on the floor of the House earlier on this afternoon.
Yes, so just now we take a break and we come back at 17 hours for continued live proceedings of the House. For now, it's good afternoon.
Here is an announcement. The National Assembly of Zambia wishes to inform all the candidates who attended interviews for various positions conducted between 13th November and 26th December 2025 that the recruitment and selection process has been concluded. Successful candidates have since been contacted and have been offered employment. Those who have not been contacted should consider themselves unsuccessful this time. The National Assembly of Zambia would like to thank all the applicants